All right. Hello and good day to all of you. And I am Oliver Blue, and I am your temporary guide through these 365 days of journaling, journaling through the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles. And we are on day 121. So we are knee deep into this project that we started 121 days ago. And as your temporary guide, I am devoted and committed to getting through these workbook lessons with commentary to help you along your journey and to supplement the workbook lessons themselves. And the focus really should be on the workbook lessons so much more than what I may add to them. Because in reality, each lesson stands by itself. It stands on its own idea of truth. And so these commentaries that I'm adding is only to be helpful in supporting the process. But again, each idea that is presented in these workbook lessons, they are ideas of truth, and they stand alone. And it's in our practicing of them that we find that they are indeed the truth that is true always. And so these lessons again are being sponsored by Truly Foundation, a nonprofit organization that is devoted to the sharing of advanced spirituality for the purpose and sole purpose of being helpful for those who have turned within, turned to the light, those that have a burning desire to mature in the knowing of themselves. So that's why we're here to support that, to support your journey of awakening, your journey of enlightenment, your journey of salvation. And it is really a journey without a distance, because what we're learning in these workbook lessons is that nothing has changed, that we remain as we were created. And only thing that remains to be considered is the release or the undoing or the letting go of the tiny mad idea of separation. Once that's done, then all distractions have been removed, and having direct experience or having a life that is free from the ego's thought system of separation is what we call a direct experience. So in other words, the knowing of yourself, the experience of your true nature and your true essence is all there is left. And that's what we all desire. It's called peace. And so this idea that there's something else, or there's something outside of ourselves in order for us to experience ourselves, that is a false idea. All this happens within just the simple recognition of who we are, of who we always have been, and of who we always will be. This unchangeless, created in the sense that nothing new, nothing added. It's just an extension. It's just a sharing of the one life that there is. We are a part of the one shared life that God is, that love is. That's it. That's how simple it is. When we embrace the reality, our reality of being a part of the one thing, the one life, the one love, the one being, the one self that God is. It's all that there is to. It's all that there is to know. That's all there is to be. And so this is why we are here. So we just completed our third actually review period. The way the course is set up, the workbook lessons set up, there are 20 lessons, and then after each 20 lessons, there's a review. So I think the first one was 40 lessons, and then we had a 10-day review. Then there was 20 lesson 10-day review. There was another 20 lessons, and then 10-day review. So now we're getting ready to start another 20 lessons, which will introduce 20 ideas, not necessarily new ideas, because what you'll find is that, there's really the simplicity of reality is so simple. It's wordless, really. It's bodiless. It's timeless. It's oneness. And so, even though we've introduced some ideas here, in reality, there's only one idea. And that is reality is, or love is, or God is, and there is nothing else. So God is all encompassing. There's nothing outside of love or God or reality. When I say love or God or reality, I'm talking about the same truth or the same reality. These are not three separate concepts or three separate ideas or three separate entities. They're all one. But I just use them as the course uses them, or as I use them, or to try to make it simple. Okay? So, so even though we're starting the next 20 lessons, we're probably going to be still bringing more enlightenment or awareness or illumination to ideas that we've already set. Because again, there's not like a foundation of 365, different lessons. No, they're all one lesson. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we introduce lesson 121. So in today's lesson 121, the idea is forgiveness. See, we've talked about forgiveness on many, many, many levels. So why are we going back talking about forgiveness again? It says forgiveness is the key to happiness. Forgiveness is the key, or the key ingredients to happiness, or it is the mechanism in time and space that opens the door to happiness, to the awareness of happiness. Not that happiness is somewhere outside of us, but it opens the door in ourself to experience the happiness that is ourself. Put it to you that way. Forgiveness. Without forgiveness, our happiness is locked up in grievances. Our happiness is locked up in feelings of being unfairly treated. Without forgiveness, we have our true vision of ourselves is obscured. Without forgiveness, we can't see beyond the content of our experience. So forgiveness plays a huge role in our discovery of where God placed our happiness and our joy and our peace in the process of creation. And he placed it right smack dead in the middle of what he created, which is us, which is the I, which is the I am, which is you and me. Before there is any experience, before there is any conditioning, before there is any exchange of experience or expression, before there was before the earth was formed, before you was formed, before there was any form, before there was any time. Before anything, any kind of experience, when it was just I and I am, when it was just reality, when it was just God, when it was just you and me. In that reality is where everything abides. And we've lost sight of that through our experience as being human, in a sense. And then in that human experience, there's this desire to know ourselves. And thus, we're in this process. So it says, forgiveness is the key to happiness. It says, here is the answer to our search for peace. So the answer to our search for peace is in forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key that opens our awareness, our consciousness to the light, to the truth, to the reality. Yeah, just the idea of forgiveness. Now, and when we talk about forgiveness, again, remember, the Course has its own idea of what true forgiveness is versus the forgiveness that we've been conditioned or that we've taught or that we think. The Jesus brand of forgiveness is something that is really far beyond what is taught in traditional religions or in what's taught, just in our natural human experience. In our natural human experience or in our religious human experience, forgiveness basically is a pardon. Is a pardon that we give to someone for what they did. Okay? It's a pardon that we give to someone for something that they did or something that we thought that they did. Okay? But in Jesus's form of forgiveness, or in the Course's form of forgiveness is not a pardon. Forgiveness actually is the idea that what we thought was done to us, it did not occur. It did not occur. Versus that it did occur and we give a pardon. That's what naturally, or in religious communities, that's what sin is. That something happened, something really happened, and then we pardon what happened. But in the Course's brand, or in Jesus's brand of forgiveness, it says that what there is nothing really happened. Let me go over there to that. If you go over to page 401 in the workbook for students section of the course, and remember, we use the blue book, the Course in Miracles, and we're in the workbook for students section. That's where the 365-day lessons are. But interspersed in the lessons, there are what is called special thoughts. And so forgiveness is the first special thought that they reinforce in this lesson. So it says, what is forgiveness? And this is according to the Course. And this is and Jesus is the author of this course. So this is Jesus's brand of forgiveness. It says forgiveness recognizes, notice now, it's a recognition. It's like enlightenment is a recognition. Awareness is a recognition. It says forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother or your sister did to you has not occurred. It didn't even occur. But you say, it had occurred. I was there. I felt the pain. I heard what they said. If you only knew what they did to me, if you only knew what they thought about me, or if you only knew what they said about me, or if you only knew how they lied about me, they did it. I was there. So what do you mean what I thought my brother did has not occurred? It says, true forgiveness does not pardon sins and make them real. So remember, when we went over the area talking about sin, that sin is not real. What we do in these bodies, what we think, what we experience, what we experience in time and space, what transforms, what transpires in our along our timeline of physical birth and physical death. The Course also recognizes that that is not reality. In other words, it's not real because it's not eternal. So that experience, our experience, right? Our time informed experience is not a reality. It's not real. So whatever happens, whatever content takes place, it's not real. It's not a reality. It's only a temporary. It's only a temporary experience. It's only a. It's only a fleeting. A fleeting idea. It's not real because remember that which is real is eternal. I mean, it's changeless and unalterable. So anything that's not changeless and unalterable is not real. So the Course establishes reality versus what? Unreality. But if you want to embrace everything as real, that's where the problems take place. That's where the confusion comes in. That's where the pain and suffering is rooted in. Calling unreality reality. If you are an eternal being, and if you have 80 years of experience of being in a state of form or in a place of time, that's only a temporary experience. But you are an eternal being, and after your 80 years, you continue being your eternal being. And while you was here 80 years, you were still your eternal self. And before you appeared as a body, human, whatever, you were still a timeless, formless being. Your 80 years didn't change anything. It's like going to the movie, watching the movie, and when the movie's over, what? You get up and go home. Why? Because it was just a movie for entertainment. It wasn't real. For you to go home now and act as though the movie was real, it's kind of insane, right? So likewise, the activities, the events, the situations, the relationships that we encounter here in this time-space experience called our life, it's insane for us to say that they're real in the sense that we know there's only a temporary experience that we're having, a dream-like experience, because it's all based on separation. It's all based on grounded in fear and sin and guilt and, and birth and death. Well, all those are just like going to a movie and being entertained by a false reality. And so here, the idea that forgiveness, it recognizes that what you thought occurred didn't occur, in the sense that it's not reality. It's not eternal. It didn't change who you are. It can't alter who you are. Nothing that in this life can change what God created. You are still the what? Eternal, innocent, complete, changeless, unaltered, shared self that God is. And nothing in this world can change that. Nothing in this world can separate you from that. You are a fixed, not a limited, but you are a fixed reality. You are a fact. You are a matter of fact, and it can't be changed. That's who and what we are. This whole lesson is about us embracing that reality, because the day that we do is the day that we quit suffering. The day we quit trying to be something that we're not, or looking for something that's not there, or looking in the wrong places. All that is what takes place when we don't embrace the reality of our true identity. And so it says, forgiveness recognizes that what you thought your brother did has not occurred. It does not pardon sin and make them real. It doesn't make the error real. So for me, this timeless, formless being, to make form and time reality, I'm making the what? Error real. I'm making the experience real. I'm making the entertainment real. I'm saying that is eternity. And I say that uh, by totally not remembering or not giving credence to my reality. When we use the word I am, and we use and whatever we say after that I am, okay, because I am represents who your created self. I am represents your God self. But what we say after I am, it either represents what supports our God self, or it makes a false image of our God self. I am sick. I am broke. I am depressed. I'm lacking. I'm incomplete. I'm a sinner. I am black. I am white. I'm all these limitations that we put on ourselves. It's creating a false image of who we are. No, it's I am as God created me. I am the holiness of God. I am the holy home of God. I am innocent. I am whole and complete. I am invulnerable. That supports your reality. But I am, and then we put all these labels and all these conditionings that we learned from the world upon it. It doesn't support our reality. So we're creating or making a false self. In which we experience anxiety and fear and guilt. Yeah, that just letting us know where we are. Help us to locate the fact that we have become afraid of love. We have become afraid of the love that we are, and we're choosing to double down on a false self that we made. We've chosen to put more credence into unreality than we have in our real self. Just an indication. It's not a judgment. It's not a guilt. Not anything to be judged about or guilty about. It just helps us locate where we are in our thinking. And if we're on a path of renewal, if we're on a path of transformation, what this whole experience here is all about, you see, either we're living by a design inspired, either we're inspired at any given moment in our life to be about the discovery, the deep discovery of our identity. And so we're purposely putting ourselves in a position to learn, to expand, and to grow, to know the truth. Either we're in that mode, or we're in the mode of totally got our heads buried in the sand, where we're just allowing our focus and our attention to be so caught up in the content of this temporary experience we call life, or temporary identification that we've made. We call this ego self. Either we're in one mode or the other. We're never straddling the fence. Either you're on a hot pursuit like Jesus was. Either you're on a hot pursuit of the knowing of yourself, or you're not. That's just it. Either hot pursuit of knowing of yourself, or you are caught up in the maze of this world trying to find peace. Either you one or the other. But if you're here listening to me, you're on a hot pursuit, and you're not really on a hot pursuit, but you are following this deep desire that is calling you to remembrance. That's what Jesus meant when he says, do this in remembrance of me. He wasn't talking about him as a personality. He was talking to me. He was talking about it was in the memory of you, and to discover, do this so that you will come to remember yourself. He had to go through the process also, so he understands that Jesus was a man just like you, had a life like you, and he had to discover for himself what the reality was. And he did it. He devoted his life to it. Now he's saying what? Do this. Do what? Be devoted to the discovery of yourself and remembrance of yourself. therein will you discover the peace and the happiness that you so desire. Like it said here, it said, here is the answer to your search for peace. Here is the key to the meaning in a world that seemed to make no sense. What is the key? Forgiveness. And I'm telling you what forgiveness is from the Course's perspective. It recognizes that what you thought was done to you, it did not occur. And why did it not occur? Because in a world of illusions, it's just an illusion. So when we, in our unknowing and in their unknowing, thought that there was a victim and a victimizer. In reality, it was nothing. It was just what? It was just a play in the maze of separation. It said it does not pardon sin and make them real. It sees that there was none. See, this is true forgiveness. It sees that what they did wasn't nothing. Why? Because they can't do anything. Nobody can do anything to you in reality. Not the government, not anyone. In reality, in your true state, nothing can be done to you. Nothing can be added or taken from you. Why? Why is that the case? Because the you who is the real self, the real you, is outside of time and space. You just appear to be. It seems that you're in time and space having this human experience. And when you realize that and wake up within that framework, wake up within the dream, now who's in charge? Who has the power? Who's in the know? You are. So there's nothing in that. You were in that frame of mind. You realize there's nothing anyone can do to you. Even if they just say, "I'm gonna destroy your body," they're not doing anything because you're not a body. Even if they say, "I'm gonna take your money, I'm gonna take your child, I'm gonna take your husband, I'm gonna do this," and you know how the threats come. We get terrified. But when we come from this point of view of reality, nothing can happen to you. You're impregnable. You're invulnerable. That's what Jesus meant when he said, "You destroy this body, well, I raise it up in 3 days." He realized that he's not a body. I know this is like, I told you, we're leaving the elementary things and we're moving on to perfection. We're moving on to more advanced awareness, expanding our awareness, which way is endless. I mean, what's already deposited in you, all we're doing is what? All we're doing is stirring it up. We're not giving you anything new. All this is already placed within you. What I'm talking about is already there. I'm just reminding you as the temporary, like I said, I'm a temporary guide reminding you of the light that you already are, of the innocence that you already are, of the eternal nature that you already are, of the birthless and deathless nature that you already possess. That's all. There's nothing really earth-shattering about what we're talking about here. There's nothing really out of the ordinary. When I say out of the ordinary, when you are operating from your heavenly space, when you're operating from your divine self, this is just everyday talk. But to the mind that is prodigal, to the mind that wants to make of itself something that it's not and stand apart from what it can't stand apart from, to that mind, this is like, hey, it's like foreign language. And it will resist in the state that it's in. But we're in the process of reminding the mind that there is no place but home. There is no place like home. There is no place but home. Come on back. We bring that mind back to the truth and let it be dissolved back into the truth. And there, so that there can be a harmony now that we bring to every moment, where there is no there's no division, there's no strife, there's no there's no separation, there's no conflict, there's no war and fighting. There's only love, because that's a recognition that there's only love. And so it says about sin. It says, forgiveness. It says, it seems there is no sin in true forgiveness. It said, it sees that there is none, and there is no sin. Sin is a concept or an idea that humanity made up. It's not a God concept. It says, and in this point of view, that there is no sin. In this point of view, that nothing has occurred that you thought occurred, that your brother did to you. In this point of view, that there's nothing to pardon. There's nothing to make real. You can't make unreality real. So in this point of view, or from this point of view, it says, and in this point of view, are all our belief in sin forgiven, or remember we said forgiveness is a shift in perception. So in this, from this point of view, from this eternal, divine, godly point of view, are all the ideas about sin released. Just released. Why? Because nothing has happened. It says, what is sin then? What is this idea that something has gone wrong? He said, what is this idea that something has been done, someone has been unfairly treated? He said, what is this idea? Except a false idea. It's a false idea about God's creation. It's a false idea about you and me. So this whole idea that we made up about victim and victimizers, about separation and guilt, about not being innocent, and not being whole, not being complete. This whole idea of this self that is something wrong, something broken, something missing, that is can only be found in a dream, can only be found in time and in form. It says all of this is a false idea. It's not real. It's a false idea about God's creation, or about God himself. What it says is that this oneness cannot be sustained. It has been broken apart. And it's not true. Only in dreams, only in fantasies, only in hallucinations, only in vain imaginings. We imagine ourselves to be something that we're not. We imagine ourselves to be bodies. We imagine ourselves to have lack. We imagine ourselves to be different from others. We imagine ourselves to be black. We imagine ourselves to be Americans. We imagine ourselves to be Democrat, Republicans, or independent. We imagine ourselves to have enemies. We imagine ourselves to have to give sacrifice. All these things we have taught ourselves that are antithetical to the reality of who we are. They're not real. And that's what we call sin. We call that sin. And God is saying it's nothing. It's just a mad dream. He calls it just a mad dream, a nightmare. And so humanity for thousands and thousands of years have experienced a nightmare of separation. And those of us who are here now, we're either in a state of nightmare, or still seeing and expressing and experiencing ourselves as separate, or we have waken up into the dream, and we are here now as the light of the world. Where are you, Adam? Where are you, Eve? Where are you? And just ask yourself the question, not a question of judgment or guilt. We're adults here. Hey, we're either in or we're not, in the sense that we either were awake or we're asleep. But even if you're asleep, you haven't changed anything. Even if you're awake, you haven't changed anything. Why? Reality is what it is. That's the good news. Nothing has changed. All is well. Heaven is what? Heaven is intact. Joy and peace and happiness is all this everywhere present. And so it says, forgiveness merely sees the falsity and therefore lets it go. That's it. When you see the falsity of what you've made, just let it go. That's what forgiveness is, to let it go. To forgive. To forgive it up. Forgive it up. Because what replaces it is the perfect will of God. Or the only will there is. So when we give up the falsity, the falsity of our identity, the falsity of this world, the falsity of our brother, the falsity of all the ideas that seemingly has dominated our attention. When we give that up, what there's left, and the only thing that's left, and the only thing that there is the will of love, the will of God, the will of reality. That's all that's left. It's like when we finally at night take off all of our garments, all of them, don't leave any of them on. What is revealed is what was always there. What was always there. And so when we take off the falsity of what we made, the only thing that is left, the only thing that is revealed is what was always there. So revelation is just it is a recognition of what was always there. And what was always there was you. What was always there was God. For that is all there is. That is the only eternal reality. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm going to stop there on the forgiveness, because I want to get through the lesson here. It says, here is the answer to your search for peace. Now we see why forgiveness is an answer. And it's only needed in our human experience. It's not needed in our reality. It's not needed in the reality of who we are, which that hasn't gone anywhere. We understand now that our humanity and our divinity has been integrated into one when we wake up. And now our humanity becomes very useful in the plan of God for the salvation of the world. Now we understand our purpose for being here. Now we understand what it means when it says we are the light of the world. Now we understand when it said that it is God that is at work within us to will and to do of his good pleasure, or her good pleasure, or its good pleasure. Because remember now, we move from the elementary things. God is not a gender. Love is not a gender. Awareness, consciousness is not a gender. It's ageless, it's timeless, it's formless, it's genderless, doesn't age. I mean, it just is. It's our isness, as you might say. So here is the answer: forgiveness. We're back on the subject again. True forgiveness. Why? Because there, even as 121 days in, we're still like, right? If you're in this process with me, we're still dealing with unforgiving thoughts. But we have a awareness now of what's taking place, and we can quickly now make the correction. So we've made some progress, but there's more progress to be made. There's more progress to be made. So we have to continue to revisit this key component. Because what? It's our goal for what? Peace and happiness and joy, to have the experience of it all the time. It's possible, regardless of what happens in the world. It's possible to be happy and joyous and peaceful all the time. A person that is asleep may view that as, oh, they're not very compassionate, or they're like, they are not, uh, you know, they ain't human. Why aren't they sad? Why aren't they angry? Why aren't they angry? Why aren't they concerned? Well, why should you be concerned about what? Like you said here, why should you be overly concerned about nothingness? Why should you be concerned about entertainment? Why should you be concerned when you know that only the will of God shall prevail? Why should you be what? Deceived? Why should you what? Why should you suffer when you know that what? Only the will of God shall prevail. You should be happy about that. In the midst of darkness, great darkness. Because look at our world. Look at our world today. Look at the situations and circumstances in our world today. There's enough trauma and drama and fear to put a person into an asylum with everything that's going on today, if they had no hope, no faith for anything else. Why should you suffer when you understand that is only what? That is only fleeting. That is only a fleeting moment. That's not a reality. It's only what? In dreams that these things have a voice. It's only in our belief that they have any strength. And so when we remove our belief from the idea of separation, it has nowhere to manifest. It has nowhere to it has no ability to impact the eyes that look upon it. If it has no power to manifest itself in and of itself, and it doesn't. The only thing that has the power to manifest itself in and of itself is love. Everything else is a call for love. Every other expression that is not lovely, it's a call for love. It's an indication that I have become afraid of love. And so here is the key to meaning. Here is the key to meaning in a world. So you ever want to know what the world means? Here's the key to meaning in a world that seemed to make no sense. And you guys are listening to me. The world might be making a little sense to you since you got into, the exercises here even more. But one reason that we all turn away from the world, and when I say the world, the falsity, because it makes no sense. It's ludicrous. In many cases, it's very ludicrous. It's insane. Our politics looks insane at times. Religion looks insane at times. Our society looks insane. Our culture is insane sometimes. And it's that insanity that drives us to say there must be a better way. And so we turn away from that. And we say, the Course is here. What does the Course has to say about it? And that's why we're here. It says, here is the way to safety. Forgiveness is the way to safety. It says, in apparent dangers that appear to threaten us in every turn. Forgiveness brings uncertainty. It says, let me back up here. It says, and brings uncertainty to all your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. It says, but the answer, the key, the meaning, the safety is forgiveness. It says, here are all questions answered. Here the end of all uncertainties ensured at last. What? In what? The understanding or in the practice of forgiveness. This concept, this practice, and it's only necessary in time and space, because again, in heaven there's nothing to forgive. And then we bring that idea to time and space. There's really nothing to forgive. What I thought my brother did, it has not occurred, only in dreams. And so what? I don't make the error real. I don't get so caught up in the content of that experience as a victim or as a victimizer. It says the unforgiving mind. Notice now. So it shares with us that the forgiving mind is the mind that what? The mind that finds peace. The forgiving mind is the mind that what makes sense out of what's happening. The forgiving mind is the mind that is safe, that feels safe. It says the forgiving mind is the mind that is certain and has hope, and is quiet and is at rest. It's at peace. It says the forgiving mind is the mind that ends all uncertainty. That's what the forgiving mind leads us unto. It says, but an unforgiving mind, one who holds grievances, if you hold grievances or you hold resentments in your mind, or you hold people, you resent people, or you angry at people, or you're mad at people, or you see people as useless, or you see people as we judge people to death or to doom or despair, or we wish on people curses, or to be cursed, or to not find themselves. If we see what people have done as a reason for them to be doomed to any lasting peace or happiness, then that's an unforgiving mind. It says the unforgiving mind is full of fear. Notice now, if we hold on to this in our mind, if there's someone that when we think about them, they cannot walk down the street of our mind and be safe because of what we're going to say about them, think about them, or even do to them if we could put our hands on them. That's an unforgiving mind because of something that happened in the past, because of something that may be happening now. It says that unforgiving mind is full, notice now, full of fear. It's afraid. It says it's full of fear and offers love no room to be itself. In other words, love is there, but love has no room, what? Has no room to shine because of what? The fear that fills the room, that fills the air. And this comes from an unforgiving mind. This is how, this is how enormous. This is the enormous impact that an unforgiving mind will have on your experience. It says it's full of fear. And love has no room. It said there's no place where it can spread its wing in peace and soar above the turmoil of the world. So where there's an unforgiving mind, we give no place to love. Love has no place to shine. It says the unforgiving mind is sad, without the hope or respite and release from pain. The unforgiving mind is sad, and it gets no rest from that sadness. It says an unforgiving mind suffers and abides in misery. It says it peeps out in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of the danger that is lurking there. So it is afraid. An unforgiving mind is fearful, is sad, hopeless, and it suffers. And that's kind of a description of the ex, of the experiences that we have. We vacillate into that experience only to cry out for mercy. God help. When all the time the help that we need is to understand that we need to what? Understand that what we think is happening, it's not occurring. It's only in dreams of separation. And so if we would just but release our belief in it, the pain and suffering and the sadness and the fear would go away and love would have its way in our life. Just that simple. It says the unforgiving mind is torn with doubt. It is confused about itself and all that it sees. It's afraid and angry. It's weak and blustering. It's afraid to go ahead, afraid to stay, afraid to waken or to go to sleep, afraid of every sound, yet more afraid. Notice now, it's afraid of all of those things, but it's more afraid of what? Stillness. It's more afraid of stillness. It's terrified of darkness. And yet more terrified at the approach of light. It's really terrified when the truth is being offered to it. That mind, that unforgiving mind, is terrified when light approaches it. So this is the state of mind that we can get into when we choose to hold grievances or hold resentments towards ourselves or towards others. And so it's apparent that there's some more cleaning out to take place within us. We got to go deeper, because here in day 121, we're still talking about forgiveness. We already know that there's still work to be done, internal work, and that's what we're doing. So I'm glad that you're here. It says, what can the unforgiven mind perceive but that is damnation? But that is damned to judgment. What can an unforgiven mind perceive other than what? Damnation, which means what? Judgment, punishment. And then we think this comes from what? We think this is what we're dealt. We think this is what we're owed by God. Just by holding what? Holding grievances, holding resentments towards someone, some situation or place. That's what it does. It leads to what? Our own judgment of ourselves. It says, what can it behold except what? The proof that all sin is real. That the unreal world is real. That's what it's trying to bring you to, that conclusion. And so if it brings you to the conclusion that this world is real, that we're all doomed. We're all damned if it's real. That's the conclusion, to keep you up in a state of what? A state of damnation, a state of condemnation. But even the scripture will tell you that there is now therefore no condemnation in them what? That are in, or that know that they are the Christ. There is no condemnation in those that what? Are in or know the Christ, that they are the Christ. That's basically what it's saying. Those that know who they are, when you understand who you really are, then there is no what? There is no condemnation that you will experience in your humanity. Because you're not experiencing it in your reality. You're experiencing it in your unreality. Because in your reality, there is no condemnation. There is no judgment. There is no hell for you to go to. There is no sin for you to commit. I hope this is making sense. It says the unforgiving mind sees no mistakes. See, the unforgiving mind, it sees no mistakes. It sees no error. All it sees is what? All it sees is sin. And remember, I said, sin is not a God idea. It's a man-made idea. It's the idea of a mind that's gone mad. It's an idea of a mind that's believed that it's separate. It's the idea that comes from a tiny mad idea of separation. So it is the belief in separation that needs to be healed. And it's healed through forgiveness. And forgiveness is what? Believing of coming to a conclusion that what I thought occurred didn't occur. What I thought my brother did, it didn't again. I am not a victim. And they're not a victimizer. One is just awake. I have awakened, so I'm not a victim. They may still be asleep, but they are not a victimizer from my point of view, because I understand that what they know not what they do. Remember, Jesus said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What they do is not sin. What they do is dream of being a victimizer. But they're not really doing anything. But in that dream, they are suffering. They're sad. They're afraid. And that's the way we find ourselves. That's the experience we have until we wake up to these truths that we're talking about. It says so. The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes, only sin. See, the forgiving mind sees what? It sees mistakes and errors. And mistakes and errors, what? Can be corrected. It is the correction of the state of the what mistakes and the error, which is a shift in perception, which is what we call the miracle. A course in miracle, a course in what? A course in correction. So this whole course we're taking is a course in correcting the way we think, correcting the way we perceive, so that our humanity and our divinity harmonize in an experience where this expression of our true self is what? It brings tremendous light. And it brings what? Immortality, which we are, to light. It brings it to the awareness. We become the light of the world. Or we are the light of the world. We don't become, we're already that. We're not becoming anything. We are already that. It's just being revealed to us. Remember, we're taking off all of the garments. The garments that we put on that we didn't like. The garment of fear and sadness and trepidation and lack and scarcity. The garments of uncertainty. We don't like them. The garments of birth and death. We don't like those garments. So we unclothe ourselves. We release ourselves of those things, only to reveal what was always there. It says, so the unforgiving mind sees no mistakes, but only sin. It looks upon the world with what? Sightless eyes, and shrieks as it beholds its own projection rising to attack its miserable poverty of life. It wants to live, yet wishes it was dead. It wants forgiveness, yet it sees no hope. It wants escape, yet can conceive of nothing, because it sees the sinful everywhere. That is what the unforgiving mind sees. Sinfulness everywhere. In other words, he said, it's real. This world is real. We're doomed. So we got to kill or be killed. We got to hoard. We got to protect ourselves. We got to protect these bodies. We got to protect this nation. We got to protect this party, this political party. We got to protect this religion. That's why we go into protection mode. Yeah, all that's an indication that we're what? We are what? We are what? Allowing the mind that thinks is separate to be what? Unforgiving. It says an unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible and does not see it has condemned itself to this despair. It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bear witness that its judgment is correct. It does not ask because it thinks it knows. The mind that is unforgiving giving is a know-it-all. It's a know-it-all mind. It says it's a know-it-all. It does not question. Certain it is right. It's a mind that insists on being right. And imposing that rightness on everyone else. That's what the world does. It insists on being right and to impose that on everyone else. Thus you have the platforms that you see out here. That is sharing the despair, sharing the fear, sharing the anguish, spreading the lies, upholding the lies. All the platforms in the different forms that they take in the world. And then it goes on to tell us here that forgiveness is acquired. It is acquired. This is important right here. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in the mind, which cannot sin. Notice now, they said the mind cannot sin. But an unforgiven mind believe in sin. An unforgiving mind, all it knows is what? Sin consciousness. So it says forgiveness is acquired. Why? Because what? In your true self, there is no need for forgiveness. It's not inherent in you. There's no need for it. In your perfection, is no need for it. But in the mind, what? That thinks is separate, you have to acquire forgiveness. So that's why we're going through these exercises. That's why we're engaging in this activity called being transformed by the renewing of the mind. Because that mind, it has to acquire forgiveness. It says, as sin is an idea that we taught ourselves the idea that sin is real. We taught ourselves that. It says forgiveness must be learned by us as well. We have to teach ourselves about forgiveness. It says, but from a teacher other than ourselves, who represents the other self in you, who represents our true self. So that's what I mean. I am a temporary guide. Why? Because there's one within you that is leading and guiding you into all truth. It's called your true self, or in this case, it says a teacher, which is no different than your reality. Your true self will teach you what you need to know. It says, through your temporary guide, through your true self, through your reality, it says you learn how to forgive the self you think you made and let it disappear. So it's the self-made self. It's our ego self that we learn to forgive. Is that the ego self that we think we made, that we learn to let it go. We learn that it has no real interest. It has no real reality. It's not in our best interest, so we learn to let it go. It says, thus you return your mind as one with your creator, which is your true self, and who can never sin. It said, each unforgiving mind presents you with an opportunity to teach your own how to forgive yourself. So each encounter we have with others is an opportunity for us to teach ourselves how to forgive ourselves. Every human being has the capacity to help us to learn this lesson of forgiveness. That's our classroom. Your relationships are your classroom. Your intimate relationships are your important classroom, because you will at some point get to get to a point where you say, "What? There must be a better way. This ain't working." And the better way is learning what? How to forgive, how to see them for the reality that they are, how to release what your grievances and your resentments. It happens in your relationships. And it teaches you what? How to forgive yourself. It says each one awaits release from hell through you, but each one of your encounters with others. It says, and turns to you imploringly for heaven here and now. They become your savior, and you become their savior as you release each other from what you thought was done to you. He said they implore you here and now. Please release me, my brother. Don't hold it against me. It says it has no hope, but you become its hope. We become others' hope. Others become our hope. It says the unforgiving. It says the unforgiving mind must learn through our forgiveness that it has been saved from hell. As we teach salvation, we will learn it. So as we teach this, that God guarantees that all will recover, return home, come to their right mind, right? Allow that which we made to be dissolved back into the truth. That there is no hell to go to. This is how we teach salvation. It says today we practice learning forgiveness. So after all this teaching that I've done here today, it's all about now practicing forgiveness. To practice forgiveness in every moment of today. And if we are willing, we can learn today to take this key, which is the key to happiness, which is forgiveness, and use it for our own behalf. We will devote 10 minutes in the morning and at night, another 10 minutes to learn how to give forgiveness and receive forgiveness. Why? Because giving and receiving is the same. When you give forgiveness to another, you're receiving it for yourself. See, it's one act of love in that very moment. Anytime you release another, you're releasing yourself because you're one. Giving and receiving are the same, one act of love. And we do that through our forgiveness, through our releasing of resentments and through our releasing of resentments towards others. It's that simple. It is that simple. All our suffering as a result of us holding on to a false image of others or a false image of ourselves. And thus we place judgment upon that. Thus we place we withhold our love. We give no place to love in the relationship. And all we see is evil, darkness, and sin. Why? Because it's an unforgiving mind. That's in sadness. It says, remember what it said. It says an unforgiving mind is full of fear. It suffers. It said it suffers and abides in misery. It says an unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused. It's afraid, it's angry, it's weak, it's blustering. It said it is afraid to go or to come. It says afraid of every sound. It's afraid of stillness. It's afraid of darkness. And it's terrified of the light. It says the only thing that an unforgiving mind can perceive is damnation. Meaning it's deserved punishment. And we all have gotten to that point. We all have experienced that. And we don't like it. And we didn't know the way out. We're showing you the way out. It's forgiveness. It says an unforgiving mind sees no mistakes. It only sees sin. An unforgiving mind is in despair, always. Always in despair. And don't see where things can change. It has no hope. It does not question. It does not act because it thinks that's all there is. So they don't think there's nothing else. But there is something else. And it's called forgiveness, which is the key to open the door to our happiness, to have a different experience. Now you see why we're revisiting this topic of forgiveness. It's so important. We know that there's more work to do in our own life. And we're willing to do that work. We're willing to look at ourselves and realize that what? We're not using the key. We're walking around with the key in our pocket. When we feel sad or we feel despair, or we feel anguish or anxiety, it's because we're walking around with the key in our pocket. We're holding resentment. We're holding grievances. We're in unbelief, and we can't enter into the rest. And the key is forgiveness. What we thought our brother did has not occurred. What we thought our sister did has not occurred. They are not our victim. They're not our victimizers, and we're not victims. That all only happens in dreams of separation. And I'm no longer asleep and dreaming of separation. I have awake. I have been enlightened. I have recognized in reality what is true about me and about my identity and about my brothers and my sister. So I'm not going to hold them in hell either. I'm going to release them. So I become their savior and they become mine. Why? Because when I give them forgiveness, I'm receiving it for myself. Giving and receiving is one act of love. That's the lesson for today. So we're going to practice that today. It says an unforgiving mind doesn't believe that giving and receiving is the same. And it is. That is huge to understand. That every act of love is an act of love upon yourself. Every act of giving is a giving upon yourself. They're not two different separate transactions. Whatever you give in every moment is what you're receiving in every moment. So if you don't like the vibration that you're in, change your giving. If you don't like the emotions or the feelings that you're in, change what you're giving, because that's what you're giving. You can only experience what you're giving. You say, well, no, I'm not giving this. Someday they. All you can see is they. And you don't see what you're giving, because they can be doing whatever they want. But in your giving or in your forgiving, therein lies your state of being, your state of mind. Therein lies. There will the mind follow. There will the emotions and the feelings follow. When you turn the focus away from they and put the focus on you and me. And start what? Unclothing. And start releasing that which you know not is real. Even if they are doing it. If you know it's not real, your reality will consume it. Your love will consume it. You being forgiving will consume it. And you say, that's hard. And I say, well, it's not that it's hard. It's just that it has to be learned. It has to be practiced. I say, so now go, and the next encounter you have, you'll see what I mean. The very next encounter that you have, decide to give what you desire to experience. Desire to give what you desire to receive, because you will receive what you're giving to your brother. What you give to your brother or sister, you are giving to yourself. Giving and receiving is one act of love. So today, choose that one that irritates, that one that can't walk down the street of your mind. Choose that one that just ticks you off. You know who I'm talking about. You already know who it is. It says, now close your eyes and see them in your mind. Notice now, with what we just shared, you can do this. You can do this. It says, now that one that can't walk down the street of your mind and be safe. He says, close your eyes and see them in your mind and look at them a while. Focus on them now. Notice the instructions here. Try to perceive some light in them somewhere. If you know there's some goodness in them, because their entire being is good. It says, try to focus on some light in them, a little gleam which you had never noticed. Try to find some spark of brightness shining through the ugly picture that you hold of them. Look at this picture till you see a light somewhere within, and then let this light extend until it covers them completely, and make the picture beautiful and good. So use your imagery. We use our imagination to uh, to think bad about people. What he's saying is, use your imagination. What to find a little light and let the light expand. Use your imagination. That's what it's there for. Imagination was never given to you or to us for us to think any different about anyone other than the reality of who they are. So let's use it for what it was given to us for. It was given to us what? To expand the love that we see, to expand the glory and the beauty and the radiance that we see in all things. That's what the imagination was given for. It says, so let's do this about that person. It says, look at this changed perception for a while and turn your mind. All right, so now we look at that. We get a little good image of this person. Now we're going to turn our attention to what we call a friend, somebody that we say that they're okay with us right now, right? So take that. So after we get this image of that person that we didn't think so much of, now get an image of the one that we think so much of. It says, turn this to the friend. Try to transfer the light that you learn to see around your former enemy. Notice former enemy, because they're not your enemy anymore. To turn that light to your friend and perceive your friend now as more than just a friend. For in that light, his holiness shows you your Savior, saved and saving, healed and whole. It shows you not only the friend, but the one that you perceived before as not so friendly. So do you see them as one? So get an image of that bestie, what we call our best friend, and take that image that we now have created of that what we call our worst friend. We're going to combine them into one because they are one. It's just a matter of our perception. We have a good perception about one, a not good perception about another. But we're gonna use our imagination, and we're gonna use the truth that we have learned here today about forgiveness. Put that all together and see the light in both of them as one. It says, now then, let him offer you the light you see in him. And so the light that you now see in this combined friend that you have created, this oneness that you have created, allow that light now to shine back at you. Allow that light to be reunited with you. You allow that light to bless you with what you gave, because you gave this. You gave this light to your friends. And now, because you gave this light to your friends, you receive the light that you gave. In that experience, you'll begin to receive the light that you gave. Why? Because giving and receiving is one act. It says, now are you one with them? So now it's not your worst. Now it's not your best. Now it's not just you, but it's all of you seen as one. It's one filled with light. That's what Jesus meant when he said, when the eye is single, the whole perception is full of light. So now you can see the whole of humanity full of the same light that you are, because that's what you're giving to them. You're no longer giving to them a sin perception of them or of yourself. You're no longer projecting that, because you don't even see yourself that way. You can't create them from a place of sin consciousness. You can only create that from a place of light and a place of love. And so it says, unite with this. Now are you one with them, and they with you. Now have you been forgiven by yourself. So in this whole exercise that we just went through, you see how yourself is forgiven, or yourself is released by releasing all others. It's the only way it happens. Forgiveness is the key to your happiness, and it unlocks what? The happiness that was always there. Do not forget throughout the day the role forgiveness plays in bringing happiness to every unforgiving mind that you meet, with yours among them. Every hour today, tell yourself this: forgiveness is the key to happiness. I will awake from the dream that I am mortal, that I'm a mortal being. You're not a mortal being, you're immortal, meaning that you are an eternal being. You are not a body. You have to see yourself as a timeless, formless self in order to see yourself as a mortal self. As to see yourself as a mortal. He says, I will awake from the dream that I am mortal. In other words, to see yourself as immortal, you have to see yourself as timeless and formless, because you are. And forgiveness is the key. You can see yourself when you're in a state of forgiveness. When you're in a state of what? There is in a state of innocence. Not only are you innocent, but all the world is innocent. You can do this. You can experience this in this very moment and on this very day. It's a different way of being. It's a different way of seeing. It's a different way of perceiving. It's a different way of thinking. It is the thoughts of God. It is the thoughts of your reality, your true nature. It says, I will awake from the dream that I am mortal, that I am a body, that I'm a body mind, subject to death, subject to birth and death. That's not who you are. It says that I'm fallible and full of sin. That's the way we've seen ourselves. There's something wrong with us. That we're full of a need. We're full of a need to be fulfilled, to be content. When all the time what we are fulfilled and we are content in our reality. It says, and know I am the perfect. Notice now, we're going to give up our belief in mortality, our belief in sin consciousness, our belief that we're fallible, that we can be what? Hurt and destroyed, that we've fallen into what? The dungeon of death. We've fallen away from ourselves. We've fallen away from our Creator. We're going to give up all those what? Weird, vain imaginings, all those dreams of separation. We're going to give up all of that. That's hallucination, is what the Course calls it. We're hallucinating when we think like that. We're going to forget. We're going to give up all of that. We're going to awake from all of that. Notice now, in other words, we're going to recognize something else. And what we're going to recognize is that we know that we are the perfect creation of God, and that we remain as God created us, as whole and complete. It's holy. That's what holy means, that we're whole and complete. We are the holy home of God. We are the impregnable creations of God. We are what God is. We are the I am. We are the we are the ones that can experience what love is. We're the ones that are the lights of the world. We're the ones that are have awakened and have been enlightened to the truth of who we are. We are the ones that no longer look at our falsity that we have made. We have released that. We are the ones. And when I say we, I'm talking about all humanity. Because you can't be the one unless all humanity is the one with you. That's the whole idea. There's only one of us. And when you wake up to this truth, all humanity wakes up. You become the savior of all humanity. Why? Because your mind has what? Your mind has been transformed into what? The one mind that we share. Your life, your understanding, your experience has been transformed into the what? One self that we are including our Creator. There is no duality. There's only oneness. There's only the one love. And that's what we are. That's what we are. Wow. Thank you so much. This has been so needful for me, needful for all of us. This subject of forgiveness is going to go on, as I look at workbook lesson 22 and maybe workbook lesson 23. We're going to continue this subject. Why? Because it's important. It's the key to our happiness. Thank you so much for being here. It's been my pleasure to be your temporary guide. Go into the world today and forgive with the Jesus forgiveness, with the course forgiveness. You're no longer a victim. Your brothers and sisters are no longer your victimizers. We're all one. Thank you so much. Selah, have a great day.